Alors, bonjour tout le monde, bienvenue à cette session sur les 5 moyens sûrs de tuer la sensibilisation à la sécurité dans votre organisation. C'est un titre assez powerful, comme on dit. Et bon, je vais vous présenter notre speaker, ce ne sera pas très long. Mon nom est Christian Descoteaux, je suis de la compagnie Novipro, directeur de compte. Et en fait, peut-être quelques consignes avant d'introduire notre nouveau speaker. Si vous avez des questions sur le sujet qu'on va parler dans quelques secondes, je vous invite à le faire sur le chat, n'hésitez pas. Vous pouvez adresser vos questions en français, même si la conférence va avoir lieu en anglais. Je vais me faire un plaisir de la traduire pour notre invité cet après-midi. Si par la suite, vous avez des sujets supplémentaires que vous voulez poursuivre avec le conférencier, vous pouvez aller sur son boot, il a un boot, et puis vous pouvez lui adresser directement les questions. Donc, je vais tout de suite partir en anglais pour présenter notre speaker. So, I'm happy to introduce Nathan Caldwell from Arctic Wolf. I like the title here, Security Awareness Evangelist. So just to give a little bio around Nathan, he's been a marketing leader in the tech world for about 10 years now. He served as the keynote producer and head of video marketing for one of the largest MSP software companies, where he was a producer and coached tech leaders in executive speaking. In his latest adventure, he helped create Arctic Wolf's managed security awareness solution. When he's not fighting cyber bad guys, Nathan loves to speak about his book, Empowering Kindness, and enjoys taking his 4 kids to theme parks and visit his homeland of Canada. So, reading through this bio a little bit, Nathan, you must be a busy guy, especially with 4 kids. So right now, I'm gonna turn it on to you to do your presentations, and we'll conclude with Q&As at the end of this session. So thank you very much, everyone, and Nathan, over to you.
Thank you so much. And I am really excited to be here. We were chatting kind of right before we got online, saying that I was told in one partial sentence, hey, Nathan, there's an event in Montreal. And I immediately said, yes, send me. And they said, but it's online this time. And I said, still send me, because I love my people in Canada. I grew up near Niagara Falls, spent a ton of time there. I still go back. My family's all there. And I've been to Montreal. I love that city. Visited, the Montreal Canadiens museum, and I'm a huge hockey history buff. I love that sort of stuff. So anyway, definitely appreciate being here and appreciate all of you for being in this session. And I am excited to talk to you about this topic because it's some things that can really help you examine what you're doing for security awareness, and make sure that you aren't making these pitfall mistakes so that your program can be very effective. Because we want to do a good job of educating our employees, educating people so that they can not only protect themselves, but also protect their organizations by spotting when bad guys are attacking them, knowing how to react to that, how to handle that situation, but also understanding what cybersecurity best practices are, and also what good cyber hygiene looks like, how they can do it, and especially why they should participate. So we'll get into the presentation in just a second. I want to give a quick overview of Arctic Wolf and who we are. So we have several solutions that all work together to help you and your organization end cyber risk. And so we have a solution called Managed Detection and Response, also Managed Risk, Managed Cloud Monitoring, and what I'm a specialist in, which is Managed Security Awareness. All of this also has account takeover monitoring, and this is all delivered as a concierge service. That means you have real security experts working for you to make sure that you are doing everything you can in your organization and making sure that they're taking a load of the work off of your plate. And it's 24/7. So managed security awareness, we like to look at it as the human side of security. This is our latest solution that's been added to the Arctic Wolf fold. And this is exactly what I focus on. What I speak about every single day is how to keep people more secure, how to teach them, how to lead them in regards to cybersecurity best practices. And so let's take a look at these 5 surefire ways that you can kill security awareness in your organization. And the reason why we're looking at these areas is because a lot of people don't realize, they think that what they are doing is positive, that it's helpful, but they don't realize that it's actually undermining their ability to provide great education for their employees. So the first one that we're going to take a look at is this idea of infrequency. How infrequent are you actually training your people or providing them with education? Because the reality is, if you have infrequency, that will lead to vulnerability. And here's why. People forget 80% of what they've learned in less than a month. So if your infrequency matches with almost every single company out there, only 6% of companies are actually training their employees at a rate of monthly or more than once a month. So you have a stack of employees who are just forgetting everything they've learned because you're not keeping it top of mind for them. You're not engaging them frequently enough to make sure that it stays top of mind. And so you have only 6% of companies that are doing it monthly, helping people to remember more. And the thing is that it's not just that they remember more, but they end up retaining it for longer if they are engaged frequently. The next one is this idea of fire hose teaching. Now, if you're familiar with this phrase, it's kind of like when you sit somebody down, you say, all right, I have your attention. Now I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about security. Well, that doesn't work. It leads to poor retention because the brain can only handle 4 to 7 pieces of information at a time. So if you sit somebody down for a full hour and just say, and you need to know this about security, and this, and this, and this, and this is how you handle passwords here, and this is how you handle your key fob here, and this is how you clock in and clock out, and you need to do it all securely, they're going to walk out of that room saying, I don't know what you want me to remember. I don't know what is important to remember, because you just stacked it all on top of each other and people can't handle that much information. It ends up falling out of their head, and then you lead to that poor retention. Another key area or mistake is the idea of shaming people. If you are using phrases like people are our weakest link, which is very common out there in the security awareness realm. The problem with that is, and I was just speaking with my wife about this stat the other day, because I was listening to a presentation and they were talking about how if you say something out loud, it becomes 10 times more powerful than if you just thought it. And then they went on to say, and if that thing you say out loud is negative, it becomes 4 to 7 times more powerful than had it been positive. So the math on that is, if you speak negatively to your employees, that has a 40 to 70 times more power of sticking with them and making them feel bad about themselves. And then they will hide their mistakes. They will avoid your training, avoid you, and actually start to resent you and the program that you have in place. When you shame employees, that leads to poison. So calling them the weakest link, or if they come to you and they say, hey, I just got this email, I don't know if it's phishing or not. Can you look at it for me? If your response is, how could you not know that that is phishing? Or if you're constantly speaking about your employees where you're just like, man, they still can't get it. What's wrong with them? The problem isn't the people. You hire sharp people to work in your organization. You have brilliant people that are working in your organization. The problem isn't the people. The problem is that they have other things to focus on as their primary role, as their priority. And you're coming in asking them to also pay attention to being cyber secure. Keep it top of mind. Don't fall for these phishing emails. And so, what you have to do then is say, okay, how can I make this the best possible experience for them? How can I make my education for them the most effective rather than just blaming them, rather than being negative towards them, putting shame there, poisoning the culture within your organization? It needs to be this approach of how do we make our education better? How do we make our security awareness training and experience better for our employees? Because they are sharp, smart people. They can learn this. They just need to be shown how. Because the flip side of it too is no one's born knowing how to spot a tricky phishing email. They need to be educated on that. The fourth thing that can kill security awareness in your organization is this idea of building distrust. And I got a little rhyme there. It leads to participation disgust. What that means is employees will start to disdain it. They will start to hate it if it is based on trickery or it's inconsistent. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, trickery is if your security awareness program is only designed or only consists of a series of phishing simulation tests where you send a phishing email, see if they fail or if they pass. Send another phishing email, see if they fail or pass. Send another one, see if they fail or pass. You can see the pattern here that it never leads to proactive education. It entirely just makes people feel like they need to constantly watch over their shoulder, especially if it's coupled with our previous point, where if they do accidentally click on one of these tests, that you shame them or chastise them or get on their case for making mistakes. So that's the trickery side of it. But what about this idea of inconsistency? Well, if you're only scheduling training, maybe you start off and you say, hey, we're going to do this once a month. But then you get a little busy, it falls to the back burner. And so you do the first time it's like every 6 weeks, and then it gets pushed to the back burner again. It becomes once a quarter. If you do not prioritize the training program, how do you expect your employees to prioritize it? And so that idea of inconsistency or trickery will lead your employees to be apathetic. They don't care, the organization doesn't care about this. Why should I? Or even rebellion. I am not going to even open any emails because I do not want to get my hands slapped again for just falling for this tricky email. Now, the other side, or a little bit deeper into the trickery of these emails, is that oftentimes people start out their security awareness program with good intention. They say, you know what? I really want to educate my people. I really want them to be cybersecurity experts. I want them to be able to spot phishing emails. I want them to know what to do on a daily basis. And so you go out and you say, how can I solve for this? Well, typically you lean toward purchasing a tool. And oftentimes what's put in front of you is a phishing simulation tool. And you get in there and, if you're like me and you like technology, those are pretty cool tools because there's a lot you can do with them. You can make that phishing email so tricky, so airtight that you could even trick the most expert technology-minded people in your organization. You can get them even. Well, but that's when your program starts to deviate from a clear goal of education into, I just want to catch people. I want to build the trickiest email so that I can catch these people. And that shouldn't be your goal. That leads to your participants just not being able to even stand seeing another email from your team or from the security awareness team. So the last point, the last way to kill security awareness within your organization is this idea of a compliance attitude. And this leads to bad guy gratitude. What that means is the bad guys are going to say, thank you very much for keeping the standards low for your employees in your organization. And the reason why this is a very dangerous thing is because some people will lull themselves into a sense of security where they say, you know what, we just need something. We know, and I've talked to organizations, I've talked to people in this role who are selecting a security awareness program. And they say, I know it's bad out there. I know that my employees need education because I know the level that they're at and what they currently know, and I want to make them better. It's really bad out there. But I don't have the time to do anything about it really. So I'll just pick something because isn't something better than nothing? And that's not the case at all. If you have this idea that something is better than nothing, it leads to a false sense of security. It's much like, in your home, if you were to say, okay, you know what? I know we need an alarm system here in the home. I know we need it, but you know what? It's much cheaper to just get an alarm company sticker and put that on the window and think that that's going to be okay. And visually, it might deter some people, but overall, it's not going to do any of the work that you need it to do, which is actually bring your employees up in a way of education. The other side of it is that employees will notice, and also they will notice the amount of care or the amount of effort that you put into this program. If you are serving them up some very compliance type approach trainings of just check the box once a year, go ahead and watch this course and answer this quiz, and that's good enough. Employees understand that that means you're not putting a high emphasis on remaining alert or watching out for the latest attack because they hear about these attacks all the time in the news. And so if your organization is not tapping into that or mentioning it of that happened to that other company, this is why it's important to us and how we're going to avoid that from happening with our company. If you aren't making those applications, if you aren't bringing that to the attention of your employees, what's left unsaid can sometimes speak louder than words. Oh yeah, security awareness, we did that like in January. And so the question is, if you do it in January, will your people be ready for an attack in September? And the answer is absolutely no, because the bad guys know, or they don't play fair. They don't call up your employees and say, hey there, we're about to stage an attack. So could you please get out all of your notes from your security awareness training that you took back in January so that we can have a fair fight? They don't do that. They want to slip in under the radar, unexpected, and they count on employees not having sufficient education or training programs in place. They count on employees not paying attention because there's no emphasis from the organization to pay attention. So they fall back. The other side of it is this idea of employees gaining a false sense of security, where they think, oh, well, we did a training on that, didn't we? We had some security awareness training back in January, so we're probably good. And it's left up to them to assume what other tools are in place. There's so many times where employees will assume that the organization they work for takes care of all dangerous or malicious materials. And so they are totally 100% safe to click on any email or any link that comes to their inbox or download any attachment or go to any website because, hey, the company has this. We got something, don't we? So they're taking care of it. I don't need to worry about it. That's where an ongoing security awareness program becomes vital because it's a constant communication to employees about what exactly it is that they need to know and to keep top of mind, to keep readily prepared. So this idea of just checking a box, let's put something in there, doesn't matter what it is, that leads to this false sense of security. And so you need to have a proactive approach to building your security awareness program. So I asked the question, well, is there a better way? I've talked for a while. Normally, I don't like being a negative guy. I don't want to focus on the things that aren't working. I want to focus on the beautiful things that are working. And so I want to twist this question or twist the topic this way and say, well, is there something out there, or is there a way that we can build a positive security awareness culture within our organization? And yes, it is. And these are the key pillars that you need to be looking at when evaluating a security awareness program for your organization, whether you're building it out yourself or you are partnering with a vendor. These are very key pillars to an awareness program that makes it absolutely powerful. Remember, we talked first about people forgetting almost everything they've learned within a month. So your program should be focused on providing and engaging with employees more than once a month so that they aren't constantly forgetting, that they have a power building memory in this subject area where they are learning more and retaining more. The second one is make sure it's micro learning. Studies have shown that micro learning is the way to go. And I've even recently been looking at a study by MIT that shows that people's attention just completely drops off the minute a video goes to more than 3 minutes. And so the ideal time frame for micro learning is 3 minutes or less. True micro learning will only focus on one key takeaway during that time. So 3 minutes or less on one subject with a clear key takeaway so that employees do not walk away saying, okay, I watched it, but what was I supposed to learn? How am I supposed to apply this? Your micro learning should take care of that for them. This is exactly what you need to know. This is how you apply it. This is why it's important. Those are very key elements of micro learning. Another key pillar is with phishing simulation. Oftentimes there are vendors out there who will send a phishing simulation, and somebody clicks on the link, they'll send a follow-up training course, but it might not be directly related to the phishing email they just received. And so it becomes almost like a timeout, almost like a source of punishment. Like, well, you clicked on the link, now you got to sit through this unrelated content. It might be good subject matter, but it's still unrelated to the mistake or the error that they just made by clicking on that link. What you need in your phishing simulation is specific education to that email you just sent them. And so it should show them the email. It should show them the key areas that they should have been paying attention to, not just in that email, but in every single email they receive so that they can properly determine if that email can be trusted or not. The next layer is your whole program should have an education focus. Your goal is not to entertain. People have Disney Plus, they have Netflix, they have whatever else to entertain them. The goal here is to build them up with an effective education program that can help them keep themselves secure and their organization secure. And then the last one is making sure that you are, if you're going with a vendor, that you're choosing one that will bring a layer of leadership to you, which means take a lot of the admin work off of your plate. The last thing you need to do as a leader of security awareness in your organization is to be stuck behind a desk, sifting through hundreds of pieces of content and then deciding, okay, I'll schedule this one here and I'll schedule this one here, but no, I don't want that one. That one's not relevant, not relevant, not relevant. You don't want to be wasting your time behind a desk. You want the solution to be just that, a solution to the problem that you are facing, which is embedding a security awareness program. And so a solution that has automatic delivery of content, where you don't have to pick the content, you don't have to schedule it, saves you all of that time and allows you to be a leader. The second thing here is this idea of coaching, using the expertise of the vendor. If they are a security awareness vendor, then they should know a lot about security awareness, and they should know how to build out a security awareness program. And you, as their as their customer, should have access to that expertise and rely on the vendor to coach you in building your program, in getting better attention from your employees, higher engagement, more participation, more conversations in the break room over a cup of coffee or in Slack, or employees saying, hey, did you catch this latest session? Yeah. Can you believe that this is what happened? This is how the bad guys did it. Yeah. We never want that to happen in our organization. So there you have it. Those are the 5 ways to kill security awareness in your organization. These are the 5 pillars that you need to be looking for to build into your security awareness program. Now, I do have a wonderful takeaway for everyone right before we get into our Q&A, because like I said, I'm the security awareness evangelist for Arctic Wolf. We do have a solution called Managed Security Awareness, and it is a fully managed security awareness program where we are always creating fresh and new content. It is delivered every other week approximately, with micro learning, 3 minutes or less, directly to employees' inboxes. They click the link, it says launch, and they're immediately enrolled. They're taking that security awareness content. They're done with it in 3 minutes or less. And then about once a month, we're sending a phishing simulation, and then you're able to track all of their performance in the program. And so no work on your part. It's all done by us. Everything is always brand new. And so we are relating it back to real things in the news. If that sounds interesting to you, if you saw that these pillars of actually building a positive and effective security awareness program, if that is something that interests you and you want to see the way we do it, we have this amazing interactive tour set up for you. And in a moment, I'll put the link in the chat here so that you can visit it. You just fill out a form and then you'll walk through, we call it DeLorean, because it's this time traveling journey through what a managed security awareness customer would experience, from a little video about what onboarding will be like, what our concierge experience will be like. Then you'll get to also go through a few actual sessions and take the quiz and experience a phishing simulation. And then it sends you straight into the future to see a couple of videos about what your employees might say if they engage with managed security awareness. And so I'll throw that link in the chat. I know that we're about time to begin our Q&A. And so before we hop over to Q&A, I just want to say thank you again so much for taking an interest in educating your employees and making sure that they become security awareness experts. It's vital that we equip them to protect themselves and their organization. So thank you again. Let's I'll get this link into the chat in just a moment, but I'd love to hop over to the Q&A.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Nathan. Listen, got a couple of questions on the chat that I'm going to address, but I would like to personally thank you for a very well articulated presentation. I mean, as I told you before this session started, we have a lot of French-speaking person there, and I've got some comments that they're happy that it's well presented and very clear, and I would like to extend my thanks to you.
That is great feedback. And I wish I was more bilingual. I can read French just fine, but the Ontario school system kind of failed me in getting me to speak French on the regular. So my apologies for that.
Excellent. Listen, a question from the audience here around the managed solution now. About the program that you just talked about in your conclusion. Is it available in French?
At this time, it is not available in French. It is English only. However, with our release schedule, we are looking to have French in just a matter of months, really, I believe.
Okay.
So, keep checking back on that. But yeah, we would love to. And if that person has an active interest, I would be happy to send them a note as soon as we have it on our release calendar.
Okay, no problem. So I do have the name of the person who is interested into that. So we'll make sure that gets communicated properly. Excellent, thank you. Next question I have here is I really like the parallel that you've made, around the security awareness when it comes down to your example of the alarm system sticker, as to just maybe having a checkbox to say, okay, I'm compliant, and we'll see, we'll cross the bridge when we get there. So how do you get a company's leadership to view security awareness as just more than a check the box, if you will? How do you get there?
Yeah, it's vitally important to have effective conversations with the leadership and share with them the dangers of not educating employees. And I often use the kind of analogy of, in this day and age, a lot of organizations are comfortable with talking about zero trust architecture when it comes to their software, their networks, those sorts of things, all the technology. Well, why would we then all of a sudden just say to all of our employees, I'm sure you've got it. You probably know all this. It's fine. No, we want to make sure that every employee that comes into our fold knows about the approach that we take to security education. And when you're placing it before a leader in those terms, where we cannot assume that people know exactly what it is we want them to know, they start to understand. Because it's the same way with if you were to train people for their job role or their job function. You don't just have somebody start for your company and say, here's your cube, here's your laptop, figure it out, good luck. Especially with something as important as keeping the company secure. There's so much ransomware out there. There are so many attacks happening. We need to educate all employees to make sure that they know what to watch out for.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Very good response. Another question comes up. Let's say we have some very technical, highly technical, skilled people in our company. Okay. Do you recommend making phishing emails more challenging for them to spot?
Yeah, so that's a question that we often get. And the answer behind that is it's bigger than your phishing emails. It's much bigger than that. The entire program on the whole needs to take an education approach. And rather than trying to just make it trickier for those technically more advanced people, is to get them, the technically advanced people, to really buy in and be leaders within the organization, to understand that, hey, look, ones and zeros, that's your love language. That's what you speak every day. You are a tech genius. What we need you to do too is to educate more people within the organization. It needs to get off of paper and into your people so that they take a leading role in the security awareness program and pass on some of their expertise. And so that's why, you know, a lot of people will ask that, but it's bigger than just the phishing email. It's an education approach. It's a culture approach, and getting those people to realize that, you know, even your most technically minded people, they aren't going to advance a great deal just because, hey, I got to trick your email out to them and I caused them to fail on a phishing test. That won't necessarily, in and of itself, improve them. You need an education program in order to help them improve. And the education program, too, if you don't mind, I'll add one more little thing there. Even if it is content that they may already know, because let's face it, if they're more technically minded, there might be some subject matter that they might say, you know what, I already know this. However, if your culture, if your approach is great, but this is a good way for you to speak about it to others now, that is where a lot of the educational breakdown happens, because more technically minded people oftentimes find it tiring to then take what they know very technically and relate it to people who are not as technical in an effective way for that person. They grow impatient because, like, hey, man, how can you not know this, is kind of the approach. But now that's not everyone. In my role, I've come across so many technically minded people that also have a heart of a teacher, and they're able to do that. And so what you want from your security awareness program, though, is to enable all technically minded people to be able to have that heart of a teacher or teach other people in your organization in a way that's effective for all roles.
Okay, excellent. One last thing, maybe just to conclude. I don't want to put you on the spot here, but I got a question on the chat here, probably more general towards most of the sessions that were held earlier today and right now. And a lot of people are asking if those presentations will be made available in PDF format or other formats from, you know, the different presenters here. So putting you on the spot here, the answer is that it is yes, basically for the presenters who want actually to share with our audience presentations. But I mean, maybe some of them will not, but I'm going to ask you live here, since the question came up on our presentation here. Will you make available your presentation? Because I think it was really educative, and it brings the discussions to a much different level than to a single solution in the marketplace, but more having general thoughts around how do we get started into this journey here. So I hope the answer is yes, but I'll let you answer.
Of course, I would love to. Are you kidding? You don't even have to twist my arm.
No problem.
I am happy.
I was not.
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. So listen, Nathan, I don't see other question on the chat right now. As I was saying earlier, if there are additional things that comes up to the audience mind, I really invite you to share your questions or comments on the on Nathan's booth here, where you will be able to answer your questions. If nothing else, then I think we are done for this this good presentation here. So thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate the presentation. But I'll let you with the end word here.
Oh yeah, just one quick thing ahead of the event. I know that my name was on the little marquee saying that I'd be speaking on this. I actually got a few LinkedIn invitations to connect with people. And so if you're in the audience, you want to connect, you want to hear a little bit more about security awareness every now and then, or some of the other things I post on LinkedIn, very much would appreciate connecting with you as well. So
excellent. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Have a good rest of the afternoon for what's left. And thank you, Nathan, for your time this afternoon.